Well, believe it or not, there is a break in interest rates, but it's not going to last. There's a slight drop in interest rates right now, and if you have to buy a house this summer, if you got to do a refi, there's no upside in waiting. Like if you're purchasing a new home, refinancing your existing home, securing a VA loan or reverse mortgage, do what I always have done. Call Team Hochberg, a trusted local lender. Liam is a trucker. He called for a free consultation after being charged crazy high closing costs by the rocket-loving lending people. Team Hochberg loan officer Johnny Hendrickson explained the costs that the rocket-loving lenders charged him. And the last time he refinanced, he also needed some help, and Liam got it from the fine people at Team Hochberg. The point to all of this is, look, you got to pay off debt, secure a full closing cost credit, can lower your payments, but you can only do it when you're doing it with the right people, and that's not the rocket-loving lenders. No, it's Team Hochberg. Liam got a great ride, not the rocket ride that took him nowhere with the ridiculously high closing costs. He got the Team Hochberg ride, and it saved him a bunch of money, over $3,500 a year. Listen, for you that listen to this podcast or listen to me on the radio on WLS, you probably already know how much Team Hochberg can help, but know that it's worked for my family, and I recommend it to yours. You at least ought to check it out. Team Hochberg can help you avoid getting violated by lenders charging ridiculously high closing costs, but they can't help if you don't call. 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com, 855-563-2843, or visit 56david.com. It's lower.com, an equal housing lender, NMLS number 1124061. There's an organization, my friend Don Crosby, proud Marine, and a good man for a long time, taught me about an organization a while ago. It was For Your Grateful Nation. They got a new name, same great organization. I'm going to tell you about the organization in a second, but first, it's important for you to know that the best that we have that are out there, from those who just enlist to those who are the special operators of the highest order, we need to take care of them when they leave.
That's right.
I think the Pentagon and the government in general do their best, but a big miss, which is why this organization exists, is that we weren't taking these great soldiers, special operators from every division, and using that knowledge, that training, that courage, that leadership, and helping them find their way in their next stop in life. We're just saying, hey, thanks, you were great. Bye-bye. Can't have it.
And they don't all stay in the military and get big jobs at the Pentagon.
Right. And this organization, by the way, started having a conversation one night. I think it was over dinner or maybe in drinks, whatever. And one of the people involved was Robert O'Neill. This is the guy that shot and killed bin Laden.
Right.
Who I had the honor of meeting, and he's still involved with the organization. But let me introduce the guests here. Give me Tommy Stoner first, if you will. Tommy, can I call you Tommy, or do I call you Lieutenant? How would you like to be referred to?
Tommy's great.
Well, Tommy, it's nice to have you on. What is your official title now with the organization?
Yeah, I'm the CEO and Executive Director for the Special Operators Transition Foundation. Special
Operators Transition Foundation is the perfect new name for what you guys do every day. It's SOSOTF.org. And now have us, give me General Schwartz here as well, if you would. Jane, sit up straight. It's a general.
I'm saluting, actually. I feel like I've done something wrong.
General Mark Schwartz joins us. Both these guys are career service for America. General Schwartz, correct me if I'm wrong. I'll drop and give you 20, but you were in charge, amongst other things, throughout your career, security coordinator for the Israeli-Palestinian Authority, because, you know, those folks have a history of not getting along perfectly. And keeping that part of the world safe. Your special operators side of NATO, which was stalled in Congress. You were supposed to run that. Point is, a highly distinguished career, and it's an honor to have you on the show as well.
Well, Steve, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. I think you characterized it perfectly in your introduction that, you know, anybody who serves our great nation, but especially the special operators that, you know, volunteer to, they truly are the best our nation has to offer when they transition out. So thanks for that lead into this discussion this morning.
And Tommy, how do we support the organization?
Yeah, there's really three ways, and you hit our mission there, Steve. Our mission is to help these special operators when they make that decision to transition, whether it's after 20 years and they're retiring or after their initial service commitment. We're there to help them transition from that military service, what they were doing, and they had purpose and passion around it, to find that next career. So where we really need help is in three big areas. The first one is, if you're interested in hiring the absolute best of the best and talent that's character-based leaders that are really going to get things done, we'd ask you come to us and give us a chance to put some of our men and women in front of you. The other one is these men and women in their journey to figure out what they're trying to do. We need mentors and others to talk to them about different functions and companies and industries and really coach and counsel them in helping them to understand all the things that are available to them out there. We put people in so many diverse roles and responsibilities and industries across the United States, and we just need people who can help us continue to do that. And then the third thing is to help us continue the mission with donations. It costs about $6,000 per operator now to put them through. So we work with them for 12 to 18 months with very focused executive coaching and one-on-one support connection, and getting them to workshops like we'll be doing here in Chicago next month. So we need the assistance to really continue to provide support to these exceptional men and women.
I'm glad you mentioned that event. It's August 18th. It's coming up. Doors will open at 5:30, program at 6:30. Radisson Blue Aqua downtown on Columbus. Open bar networking prior to. General Schwartz is going to give you a comprehensive overview of where we are in the world, militarily, Europe, Middle East. Open Q&A for him as well. And you're going to find out about Special Operators Transition. Who's welcome at this event? Either one of you.
Yeah, it's really open up to anybody interested in learning about our organization and the men and women that serve, and interested in international security affairs and things that are going on that affect the United States and our interests. I mean, as you hit General Schwartz, his background is pretty incredible, and he's just kind of a great leader in our community, and his perspectives are pretty unique, and it's really almost a once-in-a-lifetime for folks in the Chicago area to come meet him face-to-face and be able to interact and get a perspective they really wouldn't just listen to the news and reading the papers on the internet.
Jane, say hello.
Hi, General Schwartz. Hi, Tommy. Thank you guys for your service, and thank you for all you're doing here. My parents, I'm the daughter of Air Force parents, so I just have the utmost respect for any of our military personnel. But being special ops, these people have special training and a unique skill set and experiences, really, that they could bring into corporations and everyday life. Where are they being placed? And when you work with these veterans, are they going through a new type of training through your organization or a different type of transition?
Well, so to answer your first question, where are they going? They're going all over. We place people in hospitals. So we've got somebody who's the director of a hospital network out in Colorado. We've got project managers in technology. We've got financial investment. We've got people running operations, folks in securities and exchanges. It's just wherever their purpose and passion lies. One, we try to help them understand where that may be and then get them there. So as I talked about, our program runs 12 to 18 months, and it's really focused on the executive coaching to help them understand themselves and understand that they have value that is very much applicable to the civilian world and the business workforce out there. And then we help them something that's really super critical, and it's the translation, because we really do speak two different languages. General Schwartz and I can get in a room, you probably wouldn't understand anything we were saying. We could probably be speaking, Chinese to you because we use so many acronyms.
I would say Mandarin. It would be that high level. It'd be Mandarin,
yeah. So we help that with that translation process, because oftentimes, I see it in my role. I watch two people sitting across the table, our special operations veteran and business partner sometimes, and they're just speaking two different languages, but really what it is, they're speaking about the same thing. So we help them understand their value, translate it, and make the connections with people who are willing to listen to their story and hear about the incredible things they've done and all the capabilities that they have that they can bring to business. Because we take a perspective in the special operations community. It's really kind of looking at the character of the service member, folks who are willing to be part of a team, high performer, but do it as part of a team. Don't quit. Figure things out, work through complexity.
Sure.
When issues come up, which they always do, tackle those issues, take accountability, build the right coalition around it, and get her done. And I think if you're a business leader, that should resonate with you, because a lot of times people want to go directly towards the direct experience there. And often the challenges we're having in companies and the things we need to do to move the needle and go forward, they really don't have to do with a lot of deep technical expertise. A lot of times it's just management and accountability and just working towards getting it done. And that's what men and women bring.
Yeah, leadership. Leadership in general. Schwartz, we come back right after this traffic. I want you to address leadership and the question of how someone who comes through a special ops environment, Green Berets, Army Rangers, Navy SEALs, Marine Recon, Air Force Special Tactics, wherever you come from, how you adjust. This is one of the reasons I love the 18-month period. They're not saying, oh, here's a job, pal, good luck to you. They're teaching you how to exist in a corporate environment, because I would think one of the hardest things to do would be in an action environment. Yeah. See a mission, serve the mission, complete the mission, and now you're going into a corporate meeting where Phil wants to talk about the email problem he's having. That takes some adjustment. Yeah. So we'll talk about how to transition into the real business world. American Heroes, they won't like the title, but too bad they have to own it. Lieutenant Tommy Stoner and General Mark Schwartz, the Special Operators Transition Fund event is coming up on August 18th. We'll have Tommy remind you of that again in a second. General Schwartz, from Afghanistan to Iraq to the Middle East to back home, I would guess after your 30-plus years, you're still getting sand out of spots on you that you didn't know there was sand. And the service you saw led you to some of the best and the brightest, from special ops. The thing that I brought up before the break was, how do you take a special operator so focused on the mission and the timeliness of getting things done and get them into the corporate world?
Yeah, Steve. So I think the character attributes that all the branches of the military service look in a special operator, corporate America is looking for those same character traits. Maturity, obviously integrity above and beyond everything else, intellect, being able to deal with, again, complex problems. Certainly they're different in corporate America than they are what our special operators face throughout the course of their career, but the ability to work through those problems. And then also I think that something that's very valued, as I've talked with multiple CEOs and C-suite leadership across corporate America, not only on my own journey, but also to support a lot of the folks that are coming through SOTF, is they're looking for individuals that truly are committed to the goals and the values of the organization, and that's inherent in our special operators. The level of independence and leadership responsibility, particularly in SOF, that they receive early on in their career is unique to what I think is experienced in most of corporate America. So many of those traits and that assessment process that we do up front, just like what Tommy and his team do as our operators are transitioning, is so important and so valuable. I will say, I remember a few years ago when I was, looking at getting out, and I was having friends get out of the military. They said, we're going to take, 12 months for this transition process. And I kind of mocked it a little bit. And I would tell you that having, gone through it myself, that is absolutely necessary, because particularly in the context of, 9/11, so many men and women have spent their entire year going back, or their entire career, going back and forth,
right?
Supporting our nation in combat. So they need the time to really evaluate where they're going to take those attributes and transition into something that they're, interested in and ultimately passionate about into the civilian world.
So the special operators from whatever branch, these companies are bringing in folks that have served for the best leaders, have learned about leadership, but had to lead men of their own around them, frankly, just to stay alive. What about boredom? What about going, this isn't enough for me? And it's a serious question.
Well, I think that's a challenge out there. But again, I think that's why you need to invest, as Tommy and the team do, on the intake and the assessment process to really determine what you're interested in. And clearly, the cultures are very different. And it's not going to be the military, obviously, and the excitement and things that you're interested in may be a little bit different as you transition. But I look at it this way, and I'm experiencing this myself. And also, when you do transition to civilian life, you have the opportunity to do so many other things that you may have had to put on hold.
Exactly.
Which is, something that I know Tommy and his. So it's that life out of work too, right? When you're in the military, your life is your work. It truly is.
Yes.
That's the level of commitment, especially in special operations.
I'll give Jane the last word here, but first let me get Tommy Stoner in here again. Tommy, you're the CEO. You got this event coming up on the 18th. We talked about leadership. We talked about patience. Let's talk about these companies that you're training these folks to possibly be hired by and be a part of. If I'm running a business, and even if it's a big business, maybe I feel a little intimidated about bringing somebody in who's done what they've done, or maybe I'm worried about them intimidating my folks around them, and it slows down what I need folks to get done with work. Speak to that.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's very common out there. Everybody has this picture of this shaved head drill sergeant, screaming at people, and that's just not the case. Really, in the military, unless you're a very junior service member coming through training. I mean, we have this concept called, mission command, so it's leading by intent. And particularly in the special operations community, our job was to really go to different nations and work with different countries and different cultures to get things accomplished. And you do that by having the right personality, leading through influence, demonstrating your competence, demonstrating that regardless of where you come from, we're all part of the same team and we're trying to accomplish the same thing.
Right.
So, when you're a business leader worried about somebody coming in and, they're muscle bound and they're going to scream at everybody, that is so far from the case. Our folks, 50% of them get promoted within the first year. And 93% of our operators are still with the same organization 2 years after they transition, which is really an unprecedented.
The placement rate is amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys should be rightfully proud of that.
We stay with them until they're placed. So that our mission is lifelong. So they stay a part of our organization even through their career. But as a business owner, you're going to win if you hire one of these operators.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to help you accomplish your goals, and they're going to do it by helping you build the right team.
Find out more August 18th. We'll get that plug in. Jane, quickly.
Yeah, and the last word should be from the special operators themselves who have been placed. What is the feedback that you're getting from them?
These transition programs are critical, and the support from the communities and all of you out there is absolutely critical in helping them to find that purpose and passion and move into that next thing. So supporting this really supports not only these operators, it supports your business and it supports America. And, you were just talking about some of the things economically going on. This is how we win at that. We get the right people, leaders with the right focus in there.
They're going to make a difference. They're going to make a difference in your company and your life, and it's a wonderful thing to do. It's so well thought out,
Fantastic.
The way it's laid out, the 18-month idea and all of it. Lieutenant Tommy Stoner and General Mark Schwartz, I hope you guys never get tired of being told thank you for your service, because, frankly, we got nothing other than that. I'll bake you some cookies, but just saying thank you for doing the work to keep America great and safe. And on August 18th in Chicago, the Special Operators Transition Workshop and event. Go to SOTF.org, click on events, and click on details there on August 18th. You can sign up, be there. And thank you both for being here and doing it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
There you go.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
I got to be honest with you, I haven't been able to play a whole lot of golf in this 2022 season between the podcast and now getting back on the radio. But I'm hoping to play more. And you know this if you know anything about me. The place I love to play is Cantini Golf. Cantini Golf in Wheaton. It's one of the best you can play in all of Illinois. Recognized by the Kemper Sports Company with multiple awards this time around for being as great as they are. Kemper manages some of the finest facilities in the country. And Cantini is right there with the big boys. So you need to play it. That's the bottom line. If you love golf, you need to play it. 3 great nines, 27 great holes, tremendous practice facility as well, and a staff that loves to take care of you. And if you can tell me another golf course where that's true, I'd love to know what it is. But Terry Hanley and his crew get it right at Cantini. The head pro is Matt Tuller, and I sat down with Matt. What I like about Matt is he's given us different ways to think our way around the golf course. One of the questions I asked him when we sat down is, should the average golfer, like you and me, should we even have a driver in the bag? Should we have a 3-wood in the bag?
That's a good question. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think so. I mean, it's one of those clubs that, for me personally, I find is more accurate off the tee than my driver. I know we're not supposed to be talking about the driver, but it is the club that I'm able to find the fairway with more off of the tee box. I find that people actually get in more trouble on the par 5s trying to get home into with their 3-wood when they might duff it. So to me, it's finding that right club off the tee that's going to get you more accuracy, which can be that 3-wood.
And that's what you need to do then. Take that 3-wood out of your bag, hit it off the tee more often, and see if your score drops. Thanks to Matt Tuller, head pro at CantiniGolf.com. That's CANTIGNY, CantiniGolf.com, 630-260-8197.
Happy to welcome Congressman Mike Quigley to the show from the 5th. Congressman, nice to talk to you again.
Good to be back. Good to see you back in the saddle.
What do you think of the Chaps? Is that the wrong outfit to pick out? It is Lollapalooza.
It's all. I let people make those decisions. Can I just interject? I don't normally get into this sort of thing, but I just have to. Google buying the Thompson Center. I always thought that Tom looked for like Kmart headquarters. And I know it's some sort of architectural whatever, but it is ugly, and they can have it. $1 billion, God bless them.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Google does with that weird building.
I love it.
Yeah, Google ugly building.
Yes.
And there it is.
Very strange.
Google ugly building.
Congressman Quigley is just back from Ukraine. And one of the commitments I made to myself and to the show and to this audience is we want to try to keep this story alive as much as we possibly can and not let it get back burnered. I know you talked to President Zelensky. Before you get to that, what were your general impressions?
Very powerful trip. Congressional trips can be of a wide range of value. Getting beyond the Beltway does matter, but there's some places you have to go to, you have to experience. Being in Kyiv right now, being with, a president that sort of reminds you of Churchill, and traveling to places like Bucha, right? A suburb of Kyiv, where over 400 people were taken from their homes, men, women, and children, tortured, raped, hands bound behind them, shot directly to the head. And I was at St. Andrew's Church there, and on the church property was a mass grave. There's some places you have to be to pay respects and to fully understand and comprehend what took place. And, as you mentioned, keeping this fresh in your listeners' minds, if anyone thinks that the Russian army wouldn't do this on a mass scale if they had not been pushed back, they're just not paying attention. This is genocide that could be on a massive scale if we allow it to happen.
And the thing that I really hope people can wrap their heads around, Kyiv's about the size of Chicago.
Yep.
So picture one day in Chicago, we're invaded by Wisconsin. I'm not being flip here. And suddenly we're in an all-out war with Wisconsin, and you have to leave men and boys behind to fight a battle. These are not trained soldiers, but they're fighting for the safety of your country. This economy will take a generation to come back. I'm talking about the Ukraine economy, rebuilding all the places that were bombed, and just the mourning of all these lives that have been forever changed. It's outrageous. And this is going on right now, 24 hours a day on the other side of the world. You saw it firsthand.
And I would say this, Moldova is next, and not far behind, the Baltics, and eventually Poland. They're not really disguising their intentions. And, half a world away, Beijing is watching the Western reaction to see, okay, they get real interested in a conflict like this, so then the interest wanes, so we know what we have with Taiwan. There's not an autocrat with land that they're looking at to take over that isn't watching the Western response to Ukraine.
And Congressman, you met with President Zelensky, and I can only imagine what that was like. And I'd like to hear about what you spoke about, but even more, you had to look into his eyes. And
a slight light moment here. David Axelrod and I spoke afterwards, and he saw the photos. And he said, you really could look in his eyes, referring to the fact that we're about the same height. I mentioned that.
Axelrod wanted to bring up you finally found somebody your size. Okay.
Yeah. And but look, I'm kidding, but it was an extraordinary moment. You're sometimes at a time and place and an event, and it's important, but you got work to do. Mm-hmm. It's not till, it was a 72-hour trip. You sleep about 3 hours. It's all adrenaline. But, you're on your way back, and it starts to sink in the significance of this, right? This is the largest war in Europe since the Second World War with similar implications. And here's the person as responsible as anyone for the fact that so far it hasn't gone horribly south. Mm-hmm. So, look, he's plain spoken. He's engaging, genuinely appreciative, not trying to say, yeah, but that doesn't matter. Here's what we need now. In the best possible way, he expresses his gratitude and then talks about how the war is unfolding and indeed what's next. Because if you look at the map, the Russians occupy the south. They have the land bridge they wanted. And if they're allowed to keep that land, even if they don't expand, which their intentions are, Lavrov said that just this week, Ukraine will never be an independent country. It can't survive. It's landlocked. And forever, they realize that the Russians would just build. So what's working is long-distance weaponry. It's extending and pushing the Russians back. Their ammo depots, their command centers, every part of war is now having to be pushed back. So those are the HIMARS. Now, there's another system that has an even longer range and would really change the course of this, and they're called a great acronym, ATACMS. So this was strategy, tactics, what works, how they can help. And, we addressed all the concerns that the U.S. has about what's taking place, including the issues that Ukraine has to work on for this to be successful. And honestly, they were just candid, willing to let us exercise as much oversight authority as possible over, what's going on with the military aid. Look, it's a meeting for about an hour and a half, and it felt like 5 minutes.
Oh, but no, I'll bet it did. So as you left, you had time to reflect on the plane since you've been back. You and I talked back in late winter, early spring when this first began about, if this is an eventuality of NATO being involved, should we wait or should we take this to the next level? Should we at least make sure that they have the highest possibility of winning with weapons that Putin could lie and say were NATO weapons? All of those things. Does your opinion on that change, and what's your level of optimism or pessimism after the trip?
My level of optimism is high, but it's sort of the realization that so far a tie is not a victory, and this isn't a gridlock. This is a bloody slogging right now, a brutal war. And, if there is a counteroffensive, it's going to have to succeed. There's downsides for Russia for an extended.
Sure.
This is starting to wear on them economically. The sanctions, take time, but they're starting to work. Not even an autocrat like Putin can mobilize without consequences, and he's running out of manpower. There is some limits to everything. So right now I'm optimistic, but we recognize the extraordinary challenges ahead. NATO can do more. Look, a final thought on that. Every day, NATO sends an extraordinary amount of money to fund Putin's war to buy energy. It dwarfs the military aid in terms of money that NATO has given him. So, with one hand, we give you this military aid, farther to the east, more per capita, like the Baltics, and Germany's disappointing. But on the other hand, we're going to fund your enemy. We're going to fund Putin.
Yeah, no, it's a great point to make because people don't think of it in those terms, and it does seem ass backwards. There's reasons things happen, but it is crazy. I know you have to run, but Jane has a very important thing to say to you.
Yeah, and another note, public health I know is important to you. It's important to me as well. So thank you for the work that you are doing to generate awareness about degenerative brain diseases. My mother suffered from corticobasal degeneration and donated her brain to research. And I know that as research goes, if you can help find treatments or a cure for one neurodegenerative disease, it just helps find treatments for others. Any updates on the Act for ALS that you signed into law?
Yeah, that's a rare bipartisan victory. I know you have a bipartisan audience. They talk about working across the aisle to get things done. I swear to you, this bill had more bipartisan co-sponsors than any bill this session of Congress. There was no aisle. There were lawmakers hugging and shaking hands. The bill passed, and it's really transformative as it expands clinical trials and research. It's pivoting from the status quo, and it's our best chance. My father passed from Parkinson's. Everyone's been touched in one way or another. All those organizations supported this bill because they saw it as an opportunity. I told someone who shall remain nameless, who was pushing back on this, I said, you know what? I want you to come testify in Congress, and I'll give you an hour to answer and tell us all the progress we've made on Lou Gehrig's disease since he gave the speech in which he said he's the luckiest man on the face of the earth. It would be a short presentation. We've got a lot to do.
I'm guessing you got his vote after that. Thank you, Congressman Quigley, for everything you're doing, and appreciate you being on.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Take care.
There you go.
Team Hochberg, David Hochberg, rates are not your friend now. No, even if they've dropped a bit, rates are not your friend. You know what else isn't your friend? It's actually your enemy. Is waiting. I mean, let's face it. The reality of life happens. People are moving to Chicago every single day, moving to Illinois every single day, and they need homes. And the whole housing bubble thing has kind of changed. You could make money selling your house now, but then you got to figure out where to live. Look, all of these questions, all of these quandaries, all of these mysteries of life are surrounding the biggest investment in your life, your house. They can all be answered by David Hochberg and Team Hochberg. Let me tell you about an example. Jamie, 70, a limo driver, business got crushed by the pandemic, was living off credit cards. The stress of not working and credit card debt really made Jamie physically ill, so he called Team Hochberg for a reverse mortgage consultation. Jose Rodriguez, the reverse mortgage expert at Team Hochberg, walked him through it and helped him secure a reverse mortgage, paid off his mortgage, eliminated his credit card debt, reduced his payments $2,500 a month. So before calling Team Hochberg, stress and physical ailments were the rule of the day. After calling Team Hochberg, Jamie secured a reverse mortgage, eliminated that debt, saved $30,000 a year. Team Hochberg's done the same for me and the Live from My Office listeners. Many of you have already been in. Just pick up the phone and call them. I mean, they're not psychics. They're really good at saving you money, but they can't help you if you don't call. Don't wait. Don't wait. Ask them about refis. Ask them about a way to help pay off your debts and use your home in the process. You got equity sitting there, and you may need it now. 855-56-DAVID or 56david.com. You've got questions, they've got answers, and there are no stupid questions. Tune in to their radio show, Home Sweet Home Chicago, hosted by David, at Saturday mornings after House Smarts on WGN Radio at 10 a.m. Meanwhile, Homeside Financial is an equal housing lender, NMLS number 1124061.
I'm a lucky guy. Last night I had dinner with the family. My wife, Amy, our daughter, Ross, Lauren, Abigail, and Isaac. Yeah, it was a quick dinner. Afternoon, threw it together. I'm so blessed to have my family close by.
Yeah.
So if you're a grandparent, as I am, and you don't have your grandkids close, I'm sorry, and I hope they come close to you soon because it's just the greatest. I'm blessed.
You are lucky.
I thought, in the process of Ross and I worked together on the podcast, Live from my office, but we were talking separately about a bunch of things, including an organization that he's been a part of and helped for a while called Let It Be Us, which helps with foster care. So I asked him to come on and talk a little bit about foster care as we continue to try to get the head of DCFS on and talk about that. But anyway, good morning, Ross Cochran.
Oh, good morning. What an introduction. Hello.
Yeah. Are you happy to be here?
I'm thrilled.
Don't worry, he's going to wake up soon, I promise. All right, so you know the backstory here. Is it true that there's more than 20,000 kids in the foster care system in this state?
Yeah, we're at about 22,000 these days. And the way that the folks at Let It Be Us talk about it is, we rank last in every meaningful metric when it comes to serving kids in foster care and their families.
This is a fixable problem, and Ross is not here to tell you he's a hero. I don't think anybody in the foster care system will tell you that.
But they are.
They are heroes for stepping up because all of us should look at stepping up. People go, I don't know how to do it, the licensing, all of that. Is it a difficult process to be trained appropriately to do this?
Great question. So, yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, right? I'm your son. Right. So I think all anybody has to do is listen to you and go, okay, so this guy's just a guy, right? Like the people who are doing this foster care thing, those are the caseworkers, the licensing workers, the people who are on the front lines, people at DCFS, right? Like these are people who are doing the most important work on the planet. They are seeing the worst of humanity and trying to literally save kids in horrendous circumstances and give kids a better life. And they do that every single day. So as I like to say to people, they have a pretty good excuse for not getting back to you right away via email. But it is not a complicated process. It is sometimes a lot of paperwork. But what I like to remind people is you didn't have to fill out nearly enough paperwork when you had your biological children.
That's true. Do they prepare you for the emotional part of it? Because I feel like it's not just having a child come into your life. They have to leave, too. Like, it's tough bonding for foster parents.
Yeah. So the thing about that, like, people will say that a lot of, like, oh, I could never do that. I could never let a child leave. And my response to that is always, like, good. It'd be really weird if you were totally okay with letting it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No, that's actually a great point. So the licensing process, front to back, it's how long? Yeah,
so there is, at least when I went through it, and, so I apologize if this is no longer factually correct, but it's 39 hours of training.
39, you said?
Yeah, that you can take over webinars style, so modular style, so you can take it at home.
Okay.
And it is, that's what Lauren and I did. And, the state of Illinois processes this, so generally speaking, it can be done between like 4 and 6 months. And it all depends on how quickly you turn things around, like physicals and fingerprints. It depends on how quickly the state turns things around, like background checks. But what I would strongly encourage people to think about, I think when people think about becoming foster parents, they think about, sort of like movie drama level, lifelong commitments to being foster parents. And it really doesn't have to be that way. Lauren and I made the decision because when we started this, we were living in a 2-bedroom in Chicago, that we were going to be what's called respite placements. And this is just one path of many.
All right. And respite care, as I understand it, is somebody who has foster care of a child as a medical issue or needs to go on a long weekend or they have a family member somewhere that they need to visit. Anything at all where they just need a break, respite care, foster care folks like you and Lauren, you step in for an abbreviated period of time.
Correct. So, like, we had a kid who had been moved 8 times in his first 8 weeks of life. And we knew that we weren't going to adopt him. And we made it very clear to our caseworker that they weren't going to move him until they knew that he could be in a more stable home. Because you think about it from the caseworker's perspective. They need to get this child from an emergent situation to the safest home possible. What respite care allows is for that safe home to be there while they figure out what is the best long-term solution for that child. So all of that to say is it's a short-term way to get your feet wet, to see what works for you, to see what kind of placements work for you and your family, and to be in this for the long haul.
That's nice. I think that's a good way for people to figure out if there's something they could do. Because like I said, the emotional toll would be tough. I almost think biological parents should be able to get respite care too.
Okay, right. Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of parents who are stressed. Yeah, but let's take care of the foster kids first.
Yes, absolutely.
And is there an age limit on this? For instance, if you're a healthy 70-year-old, can you do this?
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, you said this earlier, Pops, like, this is a solvable problem. And one of the things that I always found most compelling about this as a societal issue is, unlike big, hairy other societal issues, like, this is a solvable problem. And the way it is a solvable problem is everybody gets involved.
What's the first step? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, would you recommend Let It Be Us? We got less than a minute, by the way, but I know you know from timing. Let It Be Us.
Yeah, no, full endorsement of Let It Be Us. I don't work for them, but I just did a podcast with them. So if you go to letitbeus.org, they walk you through every step of the process. They have coaching. They can really take care of you. I could not recommend those guys enough. And they would fully take care of you over there. The last thing I would say is people love to talk about how broken the system is. The system is built on brokenness. So be willing to be inconvenienced for the sake of a child that doesn't have any other options, because if you're listening right now, you as an adult have a different option and the kids don't. So I hope you take the time to figure out how you can help kids in foster care today.
That's really well said. Thank you, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
He's good, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a big heart. You did a good job.
He was a good kid.
Good fathering.
Mom did. Letitbeus.org. Letitbeus.org. Not a placement agency, but an agency is going to help you figure out all the questions you need to have answered, show you what the training is like, and help get you through it, because all they do from the moment they get up to the moment they go to bed every day, from the time they started that organization, is say, let's find homes for kids. Good, safe homes for kids. Mm-hmm. That's what they do.
Thank you for listening to Live from My Office, a service of Monkey Run Productions. All rights reserved. The podcast is hosted by Steve Cochran, and it's mixed, edited, and produced by me, Ross Cochran. Steve is available for corporate speaking gigs. He would love to MC your event, and occasionally, he's funny. Thank you for listening. Head to cochranshow.com for more.